Can you imagine hearing this from your own father? Get out. I don't need a sick daughter. And then, before you can even blink, he shoves you into an October storm and locks the door. No coat, no phone, no money. Just a school backpack with algebra homework inside, and rain soaking through your sneakers like ice. I was 15. 3 hours later, police called him, and when he heard what they said, his face went white. But by then, it was already too late. My name is Sherry Walls. I'm 28 now, sitting in my Boston apartment, watching rain slide down the window like it has unfinished business. And there's a letter on my kitchen table, shaky handwriting on cheap nursing home paper. After 13 years of silence, my father wants to see me. He says he's dying. He says he's sorry. Funny thing about rain, it always drags me back to that night. October 14th, 2011. I came home from school like it was any normal day, thinking about dinner, homework, and how proud I was of the algebra test I'd aced. I didn't know that within an hour, my entire life was about to snap in half. The moment I stepped through the front door, I felt it. The air was wrong. My father was standing in the living room like a bomb that already decided to go off. His face was red, his hands shaking. In one fist, he held a wad of cash. In the other, empty pill bottles. And behind him stood my sister Karen, 19 years old, 4 years older than me. Her face was arranged into the perfect expression, concerned, devastated, heartbroken. But her eyes? Her eyes had something else. Satisfaction. My stepmother Jolene hovered in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, lips tight, doing what she always did best. Nothing. My father didn't even let me set my backpack down. He started shouting like I'd set the house on fire. "You've been stealing from me, buying pills, hiding them in your room. Karen found everything." I tried to speak. I tried to breathe through the panic. I hadn't touched his wallet. I didn't even know what those pills were. But the words came out small because I realized something terrifying. He wasn't listening. This wasn't a conversation. It was a verdict. Karen stepped forward with tears that looked real enough to fool anyone. She told him she'd tried to help me, that she didn't want to say anything, but she couldn't watch me destroy myself. She performed like her life depended on it, and my father drank it in like truth. Then he grabbed my arm, hard, bruises hard, dragged me toward the door. He threw my backpack at my chest. I stumbled. The rain outside was already pouring in sheets, thunder rolling like it was angry too. And he looked me straight in the eye and said it again. "Get out of my house! I don't need a sick daughter." Then he pushed me onto the porch. The door slammed. The deadbolt clicked. And just like that, I was homeless at 15. I stood there in shock, waiting for the door to reopen, waiting for someone to say it was a misunderstanding. Nobody came. My phone was on my bedroom desk. My coat was on the hook inside. Everything I owned was behind that locked door. All I had was a backpack with textbooks and a granola bar. So I did the only thing my body could think to do. I walked. Not because I had a plan, because I had no choice. The only safe place I could imagine was my grandmother Dorothy's house, 7 miles away. 7 miles doesn't sound like much, until you're walking through freezing rain in canvas sneakers that feel like they're swallowing lake water with every step. Cars passed. People didn't slow down. I was just a shadow on the roadside, the kind you don't want to look at too closely. After 1 mile, my clothes were soaked to my skin. After 2, my fingers were numb. After 3, my teeth chattered so hard I couldn't stop. And still, I kept going. Because going back meant begging the man who already decided I didn't deserve love. At mile 4, my legs started to fail. I remember seeing a mailbox ahead and thinking, just lean there for a second, just breathe, then keep going. But my knees buckled before I reached it. The gravel hit my palms, my cheek hit the ground, and the world went black. When I woke up, there were fluorescent lights above me, the smell of antiseptic, and a scratchy hospital blanket tucked around my shoulders. And beside my bed sat a woman with silver hair in a neat bun, reading glasses, and a calm face that felt steady. Her name was Gloria Hensley. She looked like a sweet grandmother, but her eyes? Sharp, professional, like they'd seen everything. Gloria was retired Child Protective Services, 35 years. She'd been driving home from book club when she spotted something on the roadside. Me. Unconscious, alone, hypothermic. And she didn't just call 911, she stayed. She followed the ambulance to the hospital. And when I opened my eyes, she was still there. She handed me a cup of terrible hospital coffee and said, "It's awful, but it's warm." And for the first time that night, I laughed. Tiny, shaky, but real. Then she leaned closer and asked gently, "Why was a 15-year-old girl walking alone in a storm with no phone and no coat?" So I told her. Everything. The accusations. The planted evidence. The way Karen's story had already been accepted before I even opened my mouth. Gloria listened like my words mattered. When I finished, she paused and said something that changed my life. "I believe you, and I'm going to help you prove it." While I was unconscious, police had called my father, and they didn't call to comfort him. They called to investigate. "Your daughter was found unconscious. Hypothermia. CPS has been notified. A caseworker is on site. We need you at the hospital. Now." My father arrived expecting to find me guilty and apologizing. Instead, he walked into a room filled with professionals and questions. And then my grandmother Dorothy arrived, 5'2", 67 years old, built entirely out of love and rage. She took one look at me, then at my father, and said, "That's my granddaughter. What did you do?" And she didn't ask politely. That night, Dorothy demanded emergency guardianship, and by midnight, I didn't go back with him. I went home with her. Warm bed, hot soup, safety. And as she tucked the blanket around my shoulders, she said, "Honey, you have me, and tomorrow we're going shopping. Tonight, you rest." For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. 2 weeks later, the investigator called my grandmother and said, "Mrs. Reeves, the timeline doesn't add up, and we found security footage." Karen had made one mistake. She thought storms only destroy. She didn't realize storms also reveal. Because what she started didn't just expose her, it exposed everything. And that was the moment my real life began.